Hey y'all, how you guys doing tonight? Hope everybody's good out there and keeping it together. I know things can get a little tough during these times because it's something we've never experienced before in our life, you know. And especially for the ones that know truth, you know, we see it in an entirely different way than most do. And, you know, sometimes we're not always going to agree, get along, but we got to remember that even though we're in a truth community, we're still responsible for our own soul. And we're still responsible for ourselves. That's it. That's all we can do. Can't be responsible for anybody else. What they believe or how they choose to stay programmed, or, you know, if they even want to, you know, try to see what they're programmed by, or, you know, not even to mention how, you know, if they want to get deprogrammed by, you know, from what programs them. If that makes any sense. You know, but there's going to be tempers blaring, you know. And I think it's not because of hatred. It's just because I think some people just care an awful lot about their other brothers and sisters, and, you know, they don't want to see them get gobbled up by the programmed world. They just care too much, but it's a fine line, because you have to realize the person that you care about and that you want to, the one you want to see truth may not see truth, but, you know, you keep trying because you care about that person. But you have to realize that we're all our own individual with free will, you know. No matter what country you are, you can be under tyranny in your country, but you were still created to have free will by the one who created you, you know. Men can do anything they want. Men and women that control us, they can do anything they want to our bodies. There's not really much we can do about it, you know. We weren't born in a world that has free will. Like the land you see on the screen, that's what they tell us our land is shaped like. But the same ones who tell us this land is shaped this way tells us that the earth that we live on is a ball earth, you know. Same ones who lied to us in school, you know. They continue lying. They're telling the same lies to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. They tell the same lies. They keep telling them. They modify them a little bit, and they keep telling. You know? But it's a shame as a people we cannot trust the ones giving us the information. You know? It really is. I mean, we want to look at the earth that was created for us and trust that it is what it is. You know? As people, we need absolute truth, and we need to know what is concrete and what is a fantasy. You know, we need absolute truth. But the only absolute truth we can see nowadays is what we can see as a fact. You know, we see this beautiful land and we can't rise above it. We're not allowed to rise above it. The people who control us will not allow us to rise above this land and examine it for what it really is. You know, they control us. They control what we see, control what we think. But this land that you see on the screen right here, we'll just assume that this is the earth and the shape of the earth that we live on. Until we, are able to break free from this world that controls us and find out the truth, we'll assume that this is the shape of the earth we live on. And that being said, we can see the beauty in it. I mean, we can take comfort in knowing that no matter what land you came from on this earth, it was created for you. It was created for you to live on freely, free will. Now, we see these land masses with no name. We see these land masses with no separation lines between countries and states, because these land masses are before the languages that were created, before the numbers that were created. These land masses existed, and so did we. So, the truth of the matter is, we existed on these land masses without language and without numbers. For how long, we'll never know, until we start to live in a world of truth where we can research information and deduct information truthfully. But we can go back to this time where these land masses, they don't have names, and they weren't controlled by languages or numbers. What did the people living on these land masses? How did they live without languages? How did they live without numbers? Well, one thing we know for sure is they had more appreciation for the land that was created for them, because they knew it was created for them. And they knew whatever created the land created the water and the food that they ate as well. So, even though we dispute what created the land that gives us the resources that we can survive from freely. Whatever gave us this land, we know it's not a God, because the gods came along after the languages were invented. And the languages were invented by men. Now, they say the languages were invented 150,000 years ago. Now, I want to go back to something I was reading about languages. Now, they say the languages 150,000 years ago, and they're not even sure of that because, let's see, the origin of spoken language has stumped linguists dating as far back as the 26th dynasty in Egypt and the first recorded language experiment conducted by a pharaoh named Who Gives a Fuck. While it is widely understood that our ability to communicate through speech sets us apart from other animals, language experts, historians, and scientists can only hypothesize how, where, and when it all began, because they know how it really began, and they couldn't tell you, because you would know their secret if they did. These guys were feeding us full of a bunch of shit. These so-called experts and scientists, historians and whatnot, they can sit here and honestly tell us that they don't know when the languages, when the first language came about exactly. But they can tell you that let's see while most studies focus on words in order to trace the birth of modern language, I'm trying to find out. The basic distinctive units of sound, by which words are representative of over 500 languages around the world by applying mathematical methods to linguists. Let's see. Now, the thing that throws me, people, is they say that language was invented 150,000 years ago, when there's some people that don't even believe the earth is over 7,000 years old. Okay? Now, they're saying that languages apply mathematical methods. Now, how's that possible when, if you look up when the invention of numbers, supposedly was invented, came around, they say around 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Now, if language is dependent on math, how is that possible when language has supposedly been around for 150,000 years, and math has only been around for 4,000 or 5,000 years? Which is not. We know it's bullshit. That's my point. These guys are full of shit. We cannot continue to put our faith in these clowns. These fuckers have screwed us royally. And this is the reason why, we need to unite together and get along. Because they have united in such a way, they have worked behind the scenes in such a way, while they give us the life they want us to live, they work behind the scenes against us. And we're just now opening our eyes to see how they're doing it. So yeah, it's important that we work together. And for the most part, we're all doing phenomenal, There's a lot of brilliant minds out there that sharpen this truth. And you can see it when you go to their channels. But they love to divide us. And we're going to take a look into the different ways they do divide us.